Good afternoon, everyone. Ben here with Arbor Financial Credit Union, and today we will be learning more about reporting elder abuse and the impact that it has in our community, and a little bit of your responsibility when looking after certain people. First, I would like to spend just a moment touching base on our Level Up program. If you're not aware of this, this is at arborfcu.org/level up under our Learn tab. Here you'll find out about a lot of different lessons. A lot of our webinars are built out of these lessons, so it should further solidify what you've already learned in our webinars, or if you take the lesson first and then join in one of our webinars, again, the same thing. A lot of our information for our webinars on elder abuse are going to be found under that financial caregiver tab. You'll see that there are 5 different lessons. The one we're doing today is reporting elder financial abuse, and this lesson will complement it. So do check these out. These are, again, under our Learn tab at arborfcu.org. Without further ado, reporting elder abuse. Up to 5 million older Americans are abused every year, and the annual loss by victims of financial abuse is estimated at $36.5 billion. Now, that's a lot of money. And the problem is a lot of our wealth that's held in the United States is held by our senior citizens at this time. So there is a lot of reasons why people are going after it. But how do you know it's financial abuse? Well, financial abuse can involve fraud. Fraud is when someone uses deceptive or deprive another person of property for money or financial gains. And a scam also can be fraud. So a scam created to trick someone into giving their money is obviously fraud. But some other instances may be less obvious. And here are a few examples, right? So we have Mary Ellen. So Mary Ellen is a widowed elderly person. Her direct kin live out of state. So she's left alone to make a lot of the decisions. And she had a contractor come out to look at her roof, and the contractor quoted it on replating the whole roof, even though she didn't need it. She only needed a couple shingles. However, this company did know that she was a sole decider, and elderly people generally have more trust in people. And so they replaced her whole roof when she only needed a couple of shingles. And that's a form of definitely elder abuse, especially financial abuse, because she didn't need it. The other one we have is James. So James is an elderly person living by himself. He does have some family members close, but his nephew decided to come visit for a couple of days. Well, a couple of days turned into a couple of weeks, into a couple of months. And James knows that his nephew's taking advantage of him, but James has a lot of pride and it might be embarrassed. It may not have the right safe area to kind of discuss, getting help. And that's where it comes on. Start of the signs are. So like knowing if an elderly person has been a victim of fraud is not always easy if the victim feels ashamed or is not even aware it's happening, right? So it might not be a family or a friend. It might just be some person that been known to you, the caregiver, has already, took the bait. The victim has taken the bait already, and so and they might be shamed about it and they don't know how to stop it. But if they ask for help, see the biggest thing that elderly people are worried about, and they've been stripped of these is their freedoms. They don't, if they tell you that they're not in control of their money or something like that, or someone is taking advantage of them, they don't know how to stop it, then you're going to be up in it, right? And then you might start taking that freedom and then another freedom. And older people love their independence, and it is very, I've seen it in my 13 years experience. I've seen some caregivers be very disrespectful in the way that they take those freedoms away. You got to understand, if this is your parents, they took care of you when you were a baby. They took care of you a lot. And, if anything, they try to give you more freedoms and let you grow. And same thing as you get elder, it might be a struggle and you have to be patient. But when you strip these senior citizens or these elderly people of their freedoms, you will see more of this because you already stripped them. And now, again, you don't make a safe environment to talk about it, right? So they fear if they tell you more issues. And it might not even be financial abuse. There might just be other things going on. Maybe they're not feeling well. Maybe something's going on with their living residence, right? The more of a safe environment that you create, the better response you're going to have. And a lot of people don't realize, but you're kind of bullying your elderly parents because you kind of have no patience. And not saying everybody, but I've seen it. You get a little less patient. You're already busy with your own life. Maybe you have young kids and a family and everything, and it's kind of getting in the way, sadly enough. And you don't give your patience, and you have to make sure that you definitely create a safe environment for your parents or loved ones that you're helping feel that that safety to reach out or talk to you about it. So the Department of Justice warns to look for these signs of financial exploitation. But we see like noticeable changes in banking activity. If your loved one is 85 years old and all of a sudden there's like 5 stops in the same week to the party store, where in the past that's never been there. Or we see a lot of online purchases or bestbuy.com, stuff like that. It's like outside their normal banking activity. And it's not saying someone won't go on vacation or someone's like that, but we generally don't see an 85-year-old person stopping at the party store that often, or going to the casino and making withdrawals multiple times a night. Sometimes, but it's just not common. The unexpected loss of money or assets. So if you look at their account and it's also missing a zero off the back end or something along the lines, that's definitely a sign or a flag that should be thrown up. Decline in hygiene or personal care. I see this more on my side. When I'm a banker or I'm a manager and I'm sitting down and someone comes in and you can tell that they maybe haven't showered or maybe they're not as clean. And I've seen elderly citizens that they're this way because their water's been turned off and they got plenty of money. They just were so embarrassed that they got turned off that they're just kind of living with it. I've seen people in the middle of winter with their gas or electric turned off. And it's not because they don't have money. It's because either A, someone hasn't helped them, or B, someone's supposed to be paying that bill for them, but they're taking that money. And so that is a sign that we see often from our side. And then any financial activity made by new friends or new family members. It's a sad thing, but it is another common where elderly people are bullied a little bit, like kind of like push into it, or maybe they're pushed into a risky business deal where they benefit more ways that new friend, more benefit to that new friend than them. Those are some of the things that we see, and those are red flags for us. And these are all very legal. I mean, there's a lot of protections, and we'll talk about here in just a minute, where to start. But when we jump into that, if you suspect your loved one or someone who has fallen victim of elder financial abuse, it's important to take that matter seriously. But again, remember, it's equally important to remember their feelings. If you do not create a safe environment for them to convulge what they're going through, you're just not going to get it. And then you're going to have to do research. It's going to make it harder for you. Just make them know that you're not going to take away their freedoms, or at least work with them and let them know they still have say. Right? There's nothing worse than when another person is, and I've seen it kind of happens quick. They lose a couple of their freedoms right at once, right? Like lose driving, and maybe now they need a caregiver, or maybe they need someone to drive them to the store because they're not seeing so well, or they, whatever it is that ails us as we get older. Just be careful and be super respectful. Not saying that you're not with your parents or loved ones, but you got to be extra checking yourself at this point. So the following 3 actions are recommended when assisting a person that you assume or you're thinking has been a person of identity of elder financial abuse or identity abuse. Is communicate. Again, create a nice safe environment. Record what they're saying. So some people record the voice conversations, take notes, dates, times, people. If you ask about a specific transaction, maybe that one transaction by itself is not something, but just keep track of things. If you see, I see a lot of this with siblings, especially larger families, that when mom and dad get old, you see these siblings like picking sides or stuff like that, and one side thinks it's illegal and one side thinks it's illegal, and they're kind of fighting each other. You have to have like a sole person that's kind of in charge. Like you have to, and it may not always be perfect, but you try to find that one person that all sides kind of agree on, like this is the person. Generally it's the oldest also can, or it's the one, sometimes it's the youngest that, the other siblings have moved out, and again, to be fair, they, the parents, when they moved out, the parents are still healthy and fine, but the youngest one is left, and that's the person taking care of it. So it's generally one of those, is the oldest or the youngest, depending on it. But there is still good checks and balance. A lot of the times we'll have that good person do it, and then what they will do is they'll have someone else sign off it. So sometimes they involve a lawyer or a CPA, just someone to look over the financial parts of it. And there are other types of abuse that we won't cover, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but we're trying to be specific on the financial. So do record what they're saying. And then where a lot of people fall short, because they sit there and they start thinking about the feelings of the other siblings, and do I want to have a relationship? And it is sad. You kind of have to look at it as like a business and realize what you're doing is the best for the person you're providing care for. That is your fiduciary responsibility. And if you don't do that, and reporting is one of them, you do have to decide what's the point. In what case I would report a family member, but generally that's where the fraud comes from. So it's not uncommon. Definitely talk with a lawyer before, because they might help you tiptoe. They might try to just do some mediation. Sometimes when you involve a lawyer, the sibling that's the black sheep, or the one that's kind of causing a scene, steps in line, because at this point now it's a legality. And generally, if you've done the right thing for your parents and the other person hasn't, the law is going to see that. And then that's truly just being honest. Like if you've done the right things, But I've seen a lot of people, they communicate, they keep track of it, and they just let it fester, and they don't have conversations with that person. They don't try to resolve it. Reporting definitely is the last step, but you have to report regardless if it's your family. If you are the care provider of your mom, dad, loved one, and you don't think you can do that, then you should not be in this position, because your job is to protect this person. At the end of the day, if your sister spends all mom and dad's money, who's going to cover it, right? And it might not just be like, maybe that person's not spending on themselves, but they're making bad decisions. And again, you have to have that one person that's in charge. But what would be the final straw? And so sometimes with family members, I'm not saying jump the gun and do it right away. Obviously, as someone you don't know, it's a lot easier. But what is that final straw that would make you, like, what would that person have to do? Is it a dollar amount? Is it an action? And then once that line is crossed, you have to follow through it, because that is your responsibility. And again, if you're not comfortable with that, either involve another sibling, involve a lawyer, involve someone to help you so that you're making the right decision. Because I know obviously we make mistakes, we're human, but the longer that you wait, it's only your parents or your loved ones that are going to be affected by it. So where do you report? It just depends on the type of crime. And so a lot of times it's local authorities or it's adult protective services. We do see a lot of people reaching out to adult protective services just to like run questions, and you can call anonymously. And obviously if you're the care provider of a family and you're having problems with someone else, and all of a sudden adult services calls them, they might know, but you could call them and anonymously just kind of get information about what's the next steps. Get information. I mean, there's a lot of it out there. And then also the next step would be the U.S. Special Committee on Aging. Every state has one. You can look it up. It's usually under michigan.gov, and it'll be /U.S. Senate Special Committee. I think they use abbreviation for it. However, it is the next step, and that one will tell you of places in town that you can look at that will actually answer those questions for you. Kalamazoo has one. It's the Kalamazoo Aging People's Committee. And so they have one that will review, and they're just a nice part to reach in, ask some questions, and really make sure that you're doing the right thing. But again, you have to take action if it's needed. And so that's I cannot stress that enough. So once you go through reporting, it could be just something you report to the local authorities. Maybe you get more information. Maybe you're starting a negotiation. But what do you do after reporting, right? So after reporting, it's to the proper agency. It's important to follow up, be proactive, and check in, right? You can't just do it and think it's done. Obviously, if it's a family member, sometimes you set the tone, and that does save a lot of the time for the future. But you still have to monitor activity, right? If this person did it once, who knows if they're not going to do it again? They might get some other alias in. Maybe they team up with other family members. I mean, I've seen it. Not to give you like you're getting attacked, but you should be aware that when people are aging and people have different opinions, and when it's to do with someone like their mom, their dad, their siblings, they get very engaged and emotional. And you also have to know that when you see that person getting triggered, and that that conversation is not going to be something that should continue at that point. Take a breather, take a couple of days. If you're not telling yourself, I'm squeezing water on this fire, give it a break, because at the end of the day, you are just trying to do what's best for those people you're taking care of. And if you're having a disagreement with someone, chances are you're probably only spraying lighter fluid on it. So just give it some time, be patient. This is not a perfect process. I've had I've had siblings they're like at arms with each other, but they're both doing the right thing. I mean, when I've heard from both sides, they're both directions, but it's just like you have to have some person that's going to make the ultimate call. And not saying that you can't have two people that are kind of working together, but I have seen siblings that are doing the right thing for both people, just like a totally different direction. And I can agree with them. I see their sympathy in what they're trying to do best for that parent in their short time, maybe left on earth. Next one is to speak with experts, speak with the credit union that you bank with, speak with the financial institution, speak with local agencies. You can call the aging adult services, and again, you don't have to report anything. You can just get information. Recommendations is the next step. You can go to Google and type in whatever question you're looking for in elder help, and you'll get a lot of it. There is a lot of resources out there, backed by the government, backed by local authorities. So there really should be no reason why you don't have the information. A lot of times it's the call to action, where a lot of people do all the back work. They do the talking, but they can't walk the walk. So just be aware that's, again, one of the biggest ones. You do have to address the drama. And what's meant by that is, like, if mom's upset, if there's heartbroken, like, you are the person that's going to be a little bit of that crutch. Again, that person hopefully did it for you when you were young, and the support they gave you, and you're returning that favor. It's really the ultimate gift you can do for a loved one as in their aging, is kind of return that favor they did for you. But there is going to be some drama, and you can't turn away from it. You don't have to be super confrontational. You can be matter of fact and straight to the point. I always recommend, if you're working with someone that's, taking everything every different direction, write down the conversation as you want to have it, just bullet points, and just stay on topic so you can grill stuff out. And it's not saying that that person's doing it wrong, but you're going to have some drama if you're the person in charge, no matter what. And just don't turn yourself to it. That's not what a fiduciary would do. You have to do, pull up the pants and realize that this is what your job is when you're helping with a caregiver. And again, if you don't think that you can handle that, then you need to talk to someone that can. And there are lawyers that are caregivers, or there are people that are third-party neutrals that are the caregiver, right? So you don't have to have it between your family members if you're having consistent butting into heads, but definitely have to be able to assess the dress of vama, and then continuously review. And that means just, maybe every time there's a statement, just go through the statement. If you think if you solved it, let it go. Crooks generally will stop for a few months if it's not something that the law got involved, but they might try to go a different avenue, right? If they know there's money, they won't stop because it's a free handout for them in the way that those people think. So key points for today: take notes, record your observations with timestamps. I know that sounds really weird, but just I even had a conversation with this person, this time, discuss this. Because if it does go to a legal point, if you come to the table with like this journal of all the stuff that you wrote and talked about, people have a hard time recovering dates, right? They all start blending together. So take very good notes. If you want to record conversations you have with your parents or other people, that's fine. The more that you record, the better. And just allows you both to come back to some point. And if you do have issues with someone else that's helping you take care of someone, and you do hit a resolve, or like, hey, this is something we can agree on, write it down. And I'm not saying have a contract, but write it down to the point where you maybe do, and just review it so you guys are both very clear on what the expectations are. And so if there is something that comes up later, it's like, no, we both read over this, we both understood it, we both had a chance to ask questions. Again, you don't have to make a contract and get it signed and notarized, but a piece of document that very clearly both parties understood, or at least said they did, and they had a chance to discuss questions, so that later down the road there is no questions when it comes down to it. It's like, no, we discussed this. This is the path that we're moving. No, we're not buying this. We're doing this. This is what we're doing with the money. This is what we're doing to their retirement, their investments. I mean, and these things should be taken care of, because some people forget. I mean, not everybody's out there trying to swerve money and be a scam or a con artist, but you just keeping notes keeps everybody honest. Seek help. Again, you're not alone. You're not the first person that has to help decide, what's more important, your family members or the person that's taking care of them. If that person's also a family member, that person that's doing that, they made that decision that they're splitting hairs, and that they made that decision that they are going a different way, and they will attack you, thinking it, like making it seem like you're attacking them. But that's how con artists work. That's how people that do that work. They make you feel like it's your fault and you're overstepping boundary and you're pushing the family part. But they agreed to go into that, right? They agreed to help mom and dad, and they spent some of that money, right? They agreed. They took that path. If they didn't think that at some point someone's going to have an issue with that, that's bad on them. So don't let someone throw that in your face. That's how con artists work. But then follow up, right? And follow up consistently, ask questions. Again, the more of the safe environment you create, the better it's going to be for everybody involved, because you will kind of get the information you're looking for. Well, that's all I have today. I hope this was some good information for you. As always, these presentations are recorded. I'll send out an email to everybody on the list. Check back for expectations of financial caregivers next week. And then the last week of May, we're doing business banking services. And we'll have special guest Ken Fouts, our business service manager, speaking on that topic. So again, thank you so much for stopping by. We do appreciate it, and we hope to see you back soon.